other side of writing a book. What sort of book it is. It can be a business book, it can be a memoir, it can be anything. It can be a children's book. The process of writing will change your life. Everyone, and welcome back to the Author and Artist Hour. I'm your host, Tony Lontes, and today we have a truly phenomenal human being to talk to, and one I'm so excited to have on the show. But before we get going and I introduce you to our guest today, James Gardiner, here's what you need to know. If you're watching us live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, please say hello. Please reach out and let us know you like what you're hearing. If you're watching this in replay on any of the spaces across the planet, including Binge, Hero Go, Zonja TV networks, please know that the information that we talk about and the links that you need from this show will appear in the show notes. Our replays are available on the Tony TV channel and, of course, our new network, Everyday Women's Network. Now, just a little bit of a plug for Everyday Women's Network. If you're listening to this and you'd like to jump on and check out the content that we have on the network, please use ewntv.online/ and if you use the code VIP, you will get 3 months free. And that's my special gift to those of you that listen today. Now, each and every week, we do a special part of the acknowledgement of the special important role that Indigenous people played in the development of Australia's cultural identity. So today, I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, the traditional owners of the land on which we broadcast and meet today, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and all the Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander peoples here listening and watching today. Now, the title of today's interview is The Journey Back to Youth with James Gardiner. Now, here's what you need to know about this amazing man. James is a champion for conscious leadership and walking each day in adult life with our younger selves. Being a leader for momentum and growth is something that has come natural to James. With over 2 decades of hands-on experience in personal and business growth, he's motivated to help people face their challenges, uncover their truth, and reconnect to the wonder of youth so they can truly live the life of their dreams by design. James has a phenomenal history in athletic attributes, including rowing. He's also been instrumental in the development of exclusive hospitality properties on both coasts of Canada. His strength lies in his ability to foster an environment that promotes team unity for growth whilst overseeing large teams. Now, the reason that we are talking to James today is because he has a powerful new memoir, All In With Love, His Journey to the Hero Within. And the book chronicles his amazing life experiences and accomplishments, as well as showcases how he turned poor choices and failure into a recipe for personal growth. Above all, it's a story of reconnection, of getting back to the wonder and curiosity of the inner child and living life to its glorious potential. Beautifully and compellingly written, his storytelling is not only entertaining to its readers, but also provides them with deep, introspective questions and thoughts about life and their younger selves. Welcome to the show, James.
Well, thank you, Tony. That was quite the introduction. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I've been looking forward to having James on the show for quite some time. He was very busy last year, so the book's only 4 months old, James, is that correct?
Yeah.
Or it might be 5 months old? So
it's about 5 now, yeah.
About 5. So All In with Love is a beautiful memoir. But before I get to ask you about the book, I wanted to start the show with one of your favorite quotes because, in fact, it's one of my favorites too. And it goes like this: the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who knows with great enthusiasms and great devotions and spends his time in a worthy cause, who at best, if he wins, knows the thrills of high achievement, and if he fails, at least he failed daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. James, it's a powerful quote, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Yeah. And that's been a quote of mine since my rowing days. Years and years and years. And it just resonates with me. It still does when you read it, just hearing you read it. It's like, yeah, that's it.
It does, doesn't it? There's something about having experienced failure and defeat that defines us as human beings in the way that we react to those defeats and failures. And James, I know from talking to you that the outward appearance of success doesn't mask some of the tough things in life, does it?
No, it doesn't. And, we're quick to judge, you win or you fail. And, what I love about that quote is, first off, it's always fail forward. It's changing the story that we create around what we're using the label failure on. But when you can actually remove yourself from the picture frame that you're in, and, it's the true purgatory on earth are those people that just sit idly by and waste away because they just do not have the resolve to at least take a couple steps out on the skinny branches and test and look fear. I this year I've been using a phrase, ROF, Tony.
Yes.
ROF.
Yes.
Instead of ROI, return on investment, it's return on fear. Because on the other side of that, on the other side of fear is always something that we learn from.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. Let's not say that this is easy. Facing the fear around defeat and failure, and facing some of the fears that we experience in everyday life, it's not always easy. It takes you on that journey, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And truthfully, I'm going to just say, just as I download this, is that I think it's harder when we are in those situations in everyday life, because what we're up against, it's different when I'm in a rowing shell and I'm going against a component, for a gold medal.
Yeah.
Been there. Yeah. It's challenging. But when you're making choices that honor your truth, but your truth goes against the status quo of what has been deemed the appropriate behavior or the appropriate, thou shall, get married and have 3 kids, and thou shall save money until you're going to retire. And that's where those the real arena moments happen for people. And
absolutely,
if we can come out the other side of that, like I was fortunate enough to later in life, man, it's pretty amazing on the other side of that.
It's pretty powerful as well, James. And it's about how your mind thinks about that particular moment in time, isn't it? It's about, and the word mindset is so overused. I would really like another word that describes that collection of thought patterns that correct those conversations that you have in your head that can either make or break a situation.
Internal dialogue is it. I mean, we are our greatest adversary, and we are our greatest champion too,
Definitely.
And that's why, which we'll get into, but I feel like the greatest asset any one of us can have to step into any given arena, to quote that speech, is to do so alongside of your younger self and bring that with you. And that hero wisdom, as I call it, that true blend of old and young, that's the way to tackle anything in this modern age.
James, before we get on to talking a little bit more about the book, and this leads us into talking about the book, if we knew you when you were growing up, how would we have described you? And this is important, audience, because we're about to talk about James' book, which is about bringing back our youth into our adult lives. So how would people have described you, James?
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely, because there's a lot there.
Yes.
A dreamer, for sure. A dreamer. He was little Jimmy was a champion of possibility. As most kids are. Well, why? This can be, not well. Why not? This will be. This is a possibility. I think too, I would say that I was labeled as I was a meek and timid, frail child, especially with asthma all my life.
Yes.
And so I think if I could go back and stand on the sidelines and watch everything, I'd be the nice guy that everybody liked, but would never really amount to much because the cards were stacked against him. And not being able to breathe. And so that was pretty much my most of my childhood, even up into my teenage years, where I stopped breathing at one point, and my dad basically resuscitated me and saved my life, when I was 17. So a lot of that, but first and foremost, I like to think of myself as a child of childs, like like a dreamer, an adventurer, seeking play, curiosity, and these are great things that I think we all can reconnect to, and I've been very fortunate enough to do so.
James, why do we lose those powerful components of childhood that are such blessings? Why do we lose them?
Oh, there's a myriad of things. We could talk an hour on that. The more evolved we get as a society, the more de-evolved we get in certain aspects. And, I can say, the programming that happens for children as they start to age, and life experiences. And, some kids, like, for example, myself, it's like, okay, so I had an affliction, I had an illness.
Asthma's serious. I'm not sure if everyone understands just how serious asthma is, and that it does kill, and that it still does result in loss of life. It's an incredibly serious lung disease, and it can be debilitating in childhood.
Absolutely. I mean, when as a child, what do we want to do? We want to run around and play. Well, when you can't breathe a lot of the times, and you have asthma flare-ups, there's nothing. Well, for me, I'll just say, the scariest moments of my life were, waking up and not being able to breathe, and struggling for air. So. Yeah, it's a very powerful thing. And I mean, I grew up, I was a kid in the 70s. So, medicine isn't the same as it is today, and remedies and all of that. And so, my back of my arms were a pincushion. I talk about this in the book because my mom would have to give me shots all the time. And whether or not they worked, I'd go down, and then all of a sudden I'd be, I had frequent flyer miles at the hospital. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital all the time.
And that's, James, the management of that asthma comes with a whole range of things that impact on your childhood. I understand from a very personal perspective, my younger brother had really serious asthma, and it is you know, I can remember him as a baby or young child that going blue because he just couldn't breathe. Like, it's incredibly serious. Children do and can grow out of that, which is often what happens, but it does come with a lifelong need to be careful around your lungs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, the other thing too is, you know, my childhood, especially like the first 13 years of my life,
Yes.
you know, I was pumped with steroids, this, prednisone, this.
Yeah.
As I talk about in the book, every time I come home from the hospital, there'd be two Jimmys. There'd either be the scrawny little, you know, dreamer, or the puffed out on steroids.
Because steroids
Jimmy, who was
are
just kind of
icky.
like, yeah, I have pictures, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. But
Again, I'm not sure if people understand. So a lot of people, their first thoughts of steroids are around, you know, gym junkies. But steroids are a powerful drug in reducing inflammation in the body.
That's right.
The downside of those steroids, and I have exactly the same reaction as you, James, in terms of steroids, and I have to use them from time to time for rheumatoid arthritis. They puff you up. I can't sleep, appetite in overload, like they're just not pleasant, but they have the most powerful impact in stopping the other thing that's happening in your body, i.e. the asthma or the rheumatoid or whatever it is that's going on. It's a powerful drug for good, but the downside of all these horrible things. So yes, I clearly identified with little Jimmy feeling just ick.
Ick. Yeah, exactly.
James, when you think about so bearing in mind that was your childhood, so let's just move forward into your adult journey, and I want to sort of skip forward to that period of time where the bright lights of Hollywood were shining, and I just would love you to reflect on that period of your life, what it meant to you, what the downsides, what the upsides were, because that led to your quest for happiness, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it was a big part of my life. I think, you know, just to preface that question, as I said, Jimmy was a dreamer, and Jimmy found his medicine to combat asthma by imagining himself, you know, on the bridge of the Enterprise in Star Trek with Captain Kirk, or in the movies with Indiana Jones, and whatever it is, right? And so that escapism also was something that was instilled in me at a young age, which was to allow other people through acting to experience a range of emotions.
Yes.
You know, and so that was an inspiration. That was always there. I wanted to be an athlete.
From young,
an athlete,
James?
and an actor. Athlete, actor. That was it. And so when I went to university, and I made a very fateful decision, and I took up the sport of rowing, which in Australia is huge. And,
it is. It is.
Very demanding sport. My doctors advised against it, and I did it anyway.
Did they?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My doctor was like, no way, you should not do it. And I said, okay. And I remember I was sat there and I saw his pedigree behind the wall, you know, on the wall, and his diplomas. I'm thinking all that, and he doesn't know the heart of a person, like, you know. And so, you know, I kindly thanked him, and he opened up his drawer, excuse me, and he said, okay. And he pulled it out and he slid this across the table for me. Yeah. And it was a blue puffer, my first ever puffer. Yes. He said, you're going to need this. And so that was like my key to the next level. And so as I went into rowing, I persevered, and then I achieved. So I was very fortunate. I achieved a lot of accolades. Being involved with the national team, the national team as well. And so that instilled in me the ability to say, hey, if I can do this with asthma, if I want to be an actor, well, darn it all, let's
go.
Hoist the sail. So I ticked off the athlete box. Now it was time to tick off the actor box. So We went to I say Jimmy. I went to New York.
Yes. Yes.
I went to New York when I was 23, and I spent 14 years living in Manhattan and LA, between the two.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was literally living a dream at times. And I was very fortunate. I mean, I've had the book is full of celebrity experiences, relationships,
Yes.
and things. And so I was very fortunate enough to experience some of that and learn from it. And also feed my ego and feed my insatiable quest to be famous, because
that was what little
that was
Jimmy
the thing.
dreamed about.
That Jimmy wanted to be famous too, like, and so that was instilled in me. And I had my fame, I had my infamy, I had I had the gamut. And I was on TV, made movies of the week. I was on a soap opera for a while, you name it. But the downside of that was the collateral damage of the business. And I was not equipped to handle what we were talking about earlier, that real world pull and creative artist pull. It was really hard for me to tiptoe that line where, when you, as I say, we all walk through a doorway to adulthood at some point in our lives, some sooner or later, but we do. For me, it was going to New York City at 22 to 23.
Yeah, because that's a big move.
It is a big move. But then, it was, and I'm on my own, and I'm paying bills, and I'm bartending to make ends meet. And then, you start to have the real world kind of demand to live, and then all those expectations. And then, so this internal struggle happened, and it was hard. It's a very difficult business to just not only survive, but to thrive.
It seems to have so many inherent pitfalls and there's so many, or there seems to be so many, or the early deaths and the suicide and all of those things, James. And I'm thinking that therein was that quest for happiness and the outward appearance that everything is fine, but it's not really.
No, I think, actually, I know that started towards the end of New York City. So I spent 12 years in Manhattan, 2 years in LA, and that started basically in my last 2 years of Manhattan. And through some life decisions, that's when the veil really got taken away a little bit. And that quest for happiness started to go, wow, like, okay, now I'm walking around and, I'm not quite with a vibrant step that I used to, or I'm becoming jaded. Like, we hear about that, right? Age and jadedness, right? And then I go to LA and I'm living a dream in LA, and yet I'm becoming more and more unhappy and jaded. And it was tough. And for me, I have a lot of great moments that I share. One in particular, with a scene with Robin Williams in the book. Who I met, who, I've always been referred to as a young Robin Williams by all the casting directors in the business. So I wrote it in a way where I was also knowing poor Robin, what he was going through at that time. It was almost like I was looking at myself in the mirror, looking at my older self, literally and figuratively, right? And one of my favorite scenes in the book. And but then I had to leave LA, and I left LA because I got married, because my wife at the time wanted that real world picket fence and all of that. And so nothing is more powerful than giving up on a dream. Nothing can cause more damage. And when I left LA and moved up to British Columbia, Vancouver, in Canada, that was the death of the dream. And when you wake up every day without that, it's just a long, slow downward spiral, inevitably.
James, can you tell us in thinking about your story and all the things that you've been through, the number one, there's a huge wealth of wisdom in your story. There's a huge breadth of deeper understanding in your story. And knowing all of those things, what was the thing that prompted you to write about it all?
I get asked that question a lot. It's multi-layered.
Yeah.
So when writing the book, truthfully, writing the book was a culmination of a journey for me, specifically in the later years of my life when I was 47.
Yeah.
And basically, I decided to leave my family.
Yeah.
And
when that
it is, and when that implosion happened, I went. Like I say, I went into the jungle. I went into the jungle to search for myself.
Yeah. Because by that stage, you'd not only lost yourself and your dream, you'd lost those childlike
100%.
qualities that make
100%.
for a wonderfully abundant adult life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I go into a jungle on a quest, and, thankfully I come out the other side. And when I do come out the other side, that's when I decided to write a book. When I felt like I was when I felt like I was at a certain place in my healing journey from everything, and the depth of understanding, I was like, okay, this book is the stamps, like the stamp certified ending of one journey. Yeah. And the second journey in my life now is always with little Jimmy.
Yeah.
So,
that was really important, wasn't it, James? Was that understanding of the child and I talk about this a lot, that inner child, that integration of the components of the inner child that you've lost into your adult life brings a fulfillment and abundance that is powerful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I use the term reborn. I use the term in the book. I talk about, I bring in a fantasy element of what I'm talking about in the storytelling in my mind, but I bring in, I'm on a quest for this tree of life.
Yeah.
And I go through different fantasy woven in with reality moments in my head in the book. But actually what it is, it's a quest to this tree of life. Yeah. But really it's a quest back to little Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then, to be reborn is then to be walking out hand in hand with our younger
self. And integrating the adult with the inner child.
Those qualities, right? And so the most amazing thing, Tony, about this process was I never sat out to write a book about little Jimmy. I never sat out to write a book about reconnecting to childhood. The creative alchemy of this process happened, and it took me over. It was like channeled in a way that, I just went in and I wrote for 459 days straight. Yeah. And, I have a 408 page award-winning book.
Absolutely. That's written in a, I have to point out to the audience, it's written in a very unique way, and it's really good. If you haven't got a copy of the book, please jump on and grab a copy now. It's well worth the read. James, that the person that you are now, are you we're all in an ongoing journey, obviously, but the person you are now with that integration of the inner child and the adult learnings, do you feel more fulfilled at this present moment in life after publishing the book than you had done previously?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
For many reasons, I do. I feel more connected. I feel more at peace. No, and I'm not going to sit here and tout rainbows and unicorns to your audience, because that's not realistic, right? But I do, and amazing things have happened for me since writing this book,
Mm.
which, you know, the crux of the book is just me getting back to the truth of me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and what I am in life. And as an, you know, I'm an artist by nature, and
I was just going to say, James,
yeah.
part of that journey for you was around the artist creativity and
Yeah.
your need to be creative, and
Yeah.
that it's a driving force within you that absolutely needs an outlet.
Sure.
Yeah,
It does. It sure does. And you know, that was silence. So, you know, for
yeah,
almost 15 years,
yeah.
when I left LA to move up here, you know, I left in 2007, and, you know, I started writing my book in 2020. So 13
Yeah.
years, really,
Yeah.
almost precisely, as a matter of fact. And,
Oh,
you know, for 13
wow.
years, the artist was gone.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's been amazing. And that I just want to say to your audience, there's something magical that happens when you obviously we have to do the work. And obviously we you know, we have to get into the trenches, and sometimes it's not pretty, and it's definitely
And it's
uncomfortable.
hard. It's
hard,
uncomfortable, and it's hard, and you'll have moments
but
of anger
gosh,
and
on the
tears.
other
But
side of that,
yep,
though,
yep,
Tony,
yes,
you know,
yeah,
I mean, and I have to say, I mean, I could tell you stories that would, you know, make you fall out of your chair, just in the past 3 years with the book, in terms of how the universe has played
yeah.
things out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to give you one example, because
Yes, I was just going to say,
this is
can you
funny.
please just give us, just
So,
one? That'd be great.
so, you know, a little over a year ago, I was halfway through the book writing process, and I said, you know, this art, I said, I get people message me all the time. Oh, you should get back into the business, you know, acting, throw your hat in the ring. Why not? You're here in Vancouver, do some commercials.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, maybe. Okay. Cause I'm in a better headspace now. So,
Yes.
you know, I put some feelers out. So I signed with an agent who I met when I first moved up here.
Oh,
You know,
wow. Yeah.
13 years later, almost. And then literally a week and a half before my book is available to the world. So this is in August. The book was launched in September. So past August. Okay. I booked my first acting gig, and it was like 15 years, let's just say.
Yeah.
Right. What was it for? It was a commercial. What was it for? It was a commercial for asthma medication. And you, right? And I'm like, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And it's just like, okay. And not only was it asthma medication, but my role in the commercial was a gardener playing a gardener. So I was a gardener out in the yard doing my thing.
Just love how that happens when your life is in flow, those things, and they make you fall off your chair with like, oh wow, thank you. You know?
Yeah. And just massive amounts of gratitude. You know, it's just
it's a different feeling, isn't it?
You're in the flow. When you're in the flow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, after you've been there and come out the other side and start doing what your soul is leading you to do, the things that happen are just beautiful. And instead of going, oh, yay me, it's a, oh my God, full kind of feeling, which is way more precious than what was before. And so you're still in Vancouver at the moment. Mind you, I have to confess that Vancouver is one of my favorite places in the whole universe. You know, my friend Deb lives in Vancouver, and I love Canada because, you know, my brother's been there for 30 odd years or so. Vancouver, getting back to advertisements and movies and series and stuff, Vancouver is one of those key places where they do a lot of filming for all sorts of stuff, don't they?
Yeah, they do for sure, you know. And so I've booked a handful of jobs. It's been great, and it's and it's the best thing about it is that reconnection to little Jimmy. Now it's just play for me.
You get to, yes, I was going to say, is it play for you now?
And I'm not valuing my self-worth on whether or not I book a job. You know, and it's a nice, healthy relationship. So I wish I had that when maturity level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
oh
that's a
well.
powerful journey in itself, James. So the book is All with Love. How did you come up with the title?
Yeah, All In with Love, My Journey to the Hero Within. And it was interesting. I noticed when I was writing the book, I kept using a phrase all in. It was like,
Oh.
so I noticed that in my life, I've kind of always gone all in, whether it's,
Mm, yeah,
rowing, whether it's committing to a dream,
yeah.
whether it's something that maybe not have suited me at the time or served me as well as it should, but
Mm,
I've always gone all in and on everything.
mm,
And I think as I talk about, whenever we go all in,
mm.
there's always a price to pay. There's always a
Yeah,
toll to pay
yeah.
to go all in on something. Doesn't mean it's always a bad thing, but there's
No, that's
something,
right. There's something that has to
right?
give.
That's right.
It's almost like a
And
surrender, isn't it, James? There's
it
something that
is.
you have to surrender or surrender to get
Mhm.
to that next spot. And that's
Yeah,
part of the magic.
it is. Absolutely. And knowing how to transfer that. So for me, it became all in with love because I've gone
Mm,
in all in my entire life.
yes,
Now it was going all in
which
to
is different.
with love for myself, self-love,
Yeah,
and just,
yeah, yeah.
have, I know a lot of your, audience, I suspect, is women from the Women's Network too. And,
Yes,
I stand and walk forward as a conscious male right now.
yes.
So,
I
you
have
know,
to agree, audience. James is a beautiful human.
right. And I think that's part of leading with love. And so All
Mm,
In with Love just made sense to me. And it was actually a name that came up pretty quick in the writing process. I would say within
excellent.
the first month, I just noticed
Yeah.
that term kept popping up, and I'm like, yeah,
Mm,
I think it's going to be All In with Love. And then I was like, well, it's my journey to the hero within, and the hero within is
yeah,
actually little Jimmy. So I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, okay, I think that's it. All right, there it is. Yeah.
And that journey in loving that younger version of yourself and in loving yourself, and this is familiar territory for me because I didn't understand about self-love until I was in my 40s, didn't
Mm,
have any idea around the concept, didn't realize that I was minutely beating myself up constantly, and the results of that were, you know, catastrophic in my life.
yeah.
But
No,
for many people, learning to love yourself, it is not selfish. It's actually a
yeah.
way to live that helps you live your best life, isn't it,
Mhm.
James?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It is a non-negotiable for
Yes.
all of us.
Yeah.
We have to, we have
Yeah.
to
We,
put ourselves first and and
yeah.
and give
And
ourselves
put boundaries
everything that we
around
need. Oh,
what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And it's okay to do that. In fact, you will be a better human being in doing that, but it's hard when you've never seen that mirrored in your young life, when you've not had much experience of that in your adult life. It's hard and harder to do that in later
it is.
life.
It is, and it's even harder, I may add, when it's family, loved
Oh,
ones. That
absolutely.
that is
That'll
because of the work I
try
do
you. Yes.
as a as a coach, personal development and business coach. I mean, a lot of
Yes,
people always have boundary issues with the people closest to them, the ones they love the
definitely.
most.
Hmm.
You
They're the
know,
hardest ones.
yeah,
They
they
are.
are.
They are.
Yeah.
James, I'm cognizant that our time's almost up. And one thing that I really would like to tell the audience, what's next for you, James?
Mm.
Let's just what do you see in the future? What are some of the big dreams that you're aiming towards now?
A book tour in Australia. I actually have quite a number of colleagues in Australia, so I always
Yes,
joke about that with them. Uh, um, the
definitely.
future is honestly, well, I'm kicking off another big book tour here in North America
That's right. And then
at the
there's
end
the
of,
screenplay.
Yeah. So for those of you that do take the journey, and it's on Amazon Australia, it's on there.
It is.
You will definitely feel like you're in a movie. And the way that I write is very movie-like. It's very
good.
It's multi-layered that way. So it's very cinematic.
Yes.
And
And
so it lends
easy.
itself. Yes, it lends itself to a screenplay. So that's in the works as well. We have that going
exciting.
on. And obviously I'm traveling around. I'm doing signings, but I'm also doing some speaking engagements. So, I do.
And you still do the background of your business coaching as well. Let's not forget that
I
you
do
as well.
I do. And I'm getting to the point where I may have to put some of that on hold or
That's exciting though. Like, James, that's exciting.
I know. Because I love this. I love having conversations. I love having
that connectedness.
Yeah, I do.
Important.
Tony, this whole book is 408 pages of relationships, whether it's with myself, others, micro, macro level, relationships to a job, whatever it is. And that's the currency the currency we all live by, relationships, connection.
Yeah.
And so I've always said when I started out writing this, that I would do this the old fashioned way. I would tour, I would do intimate gatherings where I could speak to a handful of people. And
you've done some book readings as well, haven't you, James?
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of book clubs are starting to reach out to me now too, which is exciting. Because
I was just going to say, I have to tell the audience, the day that Deb introduced me to James, he was at a book signing in Vancouver, and she actually just walked up with the phone and said, "Hi, James, meet Tony, she's in Australia." And I'm like, "Oh, hello, James." And then subsequent to that, we jumped on a call and had an amazing conversation. So I am excitedly following on James's journey as well. But for the audience, please jump on to Amazon and get the book. James, can they buy directly from your website?
Yeah, there's a lot of options. Obviously, Amazon Australia,
Barnes and Noble
publisher. Yeah, the publisher has a facility in Australia, actually.
Yes.
So if you go to my I have a couple websites, but if you go to allinwithlove.com, just the name of the book, allinwithlove.com, that'll give your audience a really good deep dive into some of the unique attributes of the book, and some excerpts and things. And of course, all the different ways to order it, whether it's through a publisher, whether it's through Google or Indigo, Barnes and Noble, you name it. Different. It's available at over 50,000 booksellers worldwide.
Fantastic.
So you can get it. Yeah.
James, have you done the audio version? Are you going to do the audio? Yeah. Good. The reason I ask is purely selfishly, because whilst I love reading books, I also I love to listen to the author's voice. It's a powerful connection between the author and you listening to the book. I think it's amazing. James, we are almost out of time. Just one more plug. If you want to connect with James, he is on all social media. The website is allinwithlove.com, and it will tell you how to get the book. It will tell you how to connect with James. It will connect you to his socials. Congratulations, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Super blessed. It's been a ride so far. So
we are delighted that you had the time to jump on the show with me today. I can't wait to see what's next. As I said, I'm following on the journey, and that book once more is called All In With Love, and the website is allinwithlove.com. You've been listening to Tony Lonis with the delightful James Gardiner, and that, my friends, is your lot for this week. About the book, it's about the person you become on the other side of writing a book. What sort of book it is, it can be a business book, it can be a memoir, it can be anything, it can be a children's book. The process of writing will change your life.